All right, so this is the final section for the FRQ for digit list. Okay, so this is question B. Just to recap, this question was wanting us to be able to look at a list and see if each digit is increasing one by one by one. So we're going to use a comparison. We're going to use a for loop. All of those things are going to be included to make this algorithm work. This wasn't as obvious in the instructions. It didn't say the word find, but this is a find algorithm. Anytime you're working with a trend that uses comparison, most of the time we're going to see if it's true that this is occurring, or we're finding out if there is an increasing trend. So feel free to kind of sub in the word find, and it'll help you out with how to make this algorithm work. Okay, so the first thing I wanted you to be able to notice is in the for loop. We start at 0, which is perfect for an array list. But notice how in the end we go to the size minus 1. This is very important. To get to the size minus 1, we actually are stopping early. The reason that's important is because when we're making comparisons, for example, I and then I plus 1 or 0 and 1, we're comparing those two values. So when we get to the last number, we can't go any further. So that number cannot be reached, or it's out of bounds. So make sure that you understand that. We're going to take the size, subtract it by 1. That way the last operation will be the last value we look at. Okay, for this one, you can write this out multiple ways. You don't have to abstract this information into its own values, but I find it useful for teaching purposes. So the first thing we're going to do is make a local variable called cur digit. It's the current digit we're on. So that's going to be our I. Very important to understand, though, that it's the DigitList.get I, not just the value I, which is 0 or 1. We've got to be able to extract the value from the list. So we're going to use DigitList.get I. And then we need to compare it to the next digit. The next digit is going to be I plus 1. So notice how it's DigitList.get I plus 1. We also talked about the logic for a little bit in the previous video. So this one, it's going to be if current digit is greater than or equal to the next digit. Notice how that's the opposite of what we're looking for. This is going to return true if the values are increasing. But if the current digit is greater than the next digit, that means it is not increasing. Notice, though, how we return false. The purpose of that is we're looking for a stopping point. If we find a reason that this is false, go ahead and just say it's false. However, if it is true, we want to keep going and going and going. And that's why the return true is at the end. It's appropriate to check every value to finish the for loop, and if they are all increasing, then that's the point where you can return true. Here's some examples where this wouldn't work, but are easy to make mistakes on. So for the first question, again, is strictly increasing. For this one, we look to see if the current digit is less than equal to the next digit. Again, your logic might tell you, well, this is the correct thing because for this to be increasing, the current digit needs to be less than the next digit. But in the example, if it were 1 and 3, the current digit being 1 means it is increasing, but we would return too early. Returning true would stop the rest of the execution from happening. So if it were 1, 3, 2, 0, it doesn't increase, but we would tell it that it did increase because the first comparison was true. Okay, the next thing is increasing, and you are using a find algorithm that includes an if-else. This is rarely the case. Again, if we're looking for an if statement and we say if it's not greater than, go ahead and return true. So if it's not false, then it must be true. This makes a lot of sense, again, logically, because if it's not false, what is it usually going to be? True. but this happens in one iteration. So if we don't complete the whole list, then we return too soon. So this is not an appropriate way to do it either, but it is a common pitfall. Okay, I hope this helps.